Risk and Finance Committee for the year. And Mr. Chief Executive, would you like to open with a karakia, please?
Sure thing, Mr. Chair. Kia ora, te marino, kia whakapapa pauna mu te wana, hei rua rahi mā, tātou i te rangi nei, arama atu, arama mai, tātou i a tātou katoa. Kia ora.
Kia ora, thank you. We've got apologies from Deputy Mayor Jonathan for potential lateness, potential not here or online. That's the only apology we have. Councillor Paniora is trying to get online. So hopefully she can do that, otherwise it would be an apology for her. Do I have a mover, please? The apologies. Councillor Ash, seconded Councillor Mike. All those in favour, please say aye. Items on the agenda, I see no need to change the order of the agenda, and there are any additional items that need to be considered. So if we can confirm, I'm happy to move. We confirm the agenda. Do you have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Mike. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried. Are there any conflicts of interest that need to be declared? There are none noted. Minutes of our extraordinary meeting held 6th of October. Can I have a mover, please?
Move second, whatever.
Mayor Craig, second Councillor Ash. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
So, first item, our work.
Yeah, just the work programme. So I'm really pleased to report that the work programme today is not as big as the one from last time. But yeah, everything's there. It's basically similar, and going forward, there's no unusual things.
Okay. Okay. Any questions, comments?
No, at this stage.
It'd be nice if we could get more than a couple of meetings for next year. So just into, I think a rolling 12 months would be useful. Open my only comment. Okay. You're happy to move, Councillor Mike?
Yep.
Yep. Have a seconder?
Yep.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, Councillor Aaron, you're a little bit slow there. This is blame the internet speed. All right.
Councillor Paniora was just joined.
Okay, thank you. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Oh, yep. Aye. Right. Next item is 3.2, our little report from the Deloitte's. So, Jesse's online. Welcome, Jesse. We'll take your report as read.
Yes.
Is there any further information, highlights you want to bring to the committee's attention?
Not really. It's all pretty self-explanatory on the letter. We had a challenging time in the 23 year with the replacement of the finance team, and had a good result, I feel, from the audit regardless of that. So most of those points raised are very much in progress of being fixed. So if anyone has any questions, happy to answer them.
And I'll just add to that what happens, just so members know, because this is the first time probably heard this, that when Deloitte does the annual report, they report through to the 30th of June meeting any key points that they feel are problematic, and then they do a management one with some smaller key items that they say these are items that you need to fix for the next time. So just to clarify that.
Councillor Ash?
So I don't know which way to go about Deloitte. Is it in PEX as well, or?
Sorry?
There are 8 new items and 14 old items in Deloitte report.
Correct, yep.
And some of them are very serious, and the council is just taking note of it, and some of them are 2 years old. So I'm just surprised. Are we taking Deloitte report seriously at all?
Yes, we are. So, what happens is we report to each quarter how we're going on any audit report. So, but some of the things take a year to actually do because some of the things you're talking about might be, you only get a chance to rectify it when you're doing the annual report. So it does take a year.
At least.
So what are you thinking that might be serious?
Yeah.
The one of them is 2.2 is LTP amendment among the 5 wastewater on development contribution. Nothing has been done for 2 years. There was a comment that
No, doing an LTP.
That's right. So it's done every
It is-
year on the LTP and we've made that clear and our council has agreed to that.
what about the money for
Well,
development?
we still charge development contributions. So.
Based on current 24.
That is not based on what they recommended, isn't it?
No, the last LTP was done on correct figures. It was done on what the council at that time proposed for the 10 years expenditure on the Mangawhai wastewater scheme. So the figures are correct. We don't come back and.
Well, my concern is just one, so is free water's uptake or not take. This item will be redundant. It means we haven't got the money which we would have got based on this.
No,
Okay.
no, we have.
Anyway, I could be wrong, but I would like you to have a look at it. Yeah, thank you.
Well, hold on,
Yeah.
if I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that, to that, I think that it's been explained that, one, Three Waters is off the discussion
Yeah.
books, taken out of everything.
Yeah,
We have, as I understand it, a development contribution. Mangawhai wastewater, currently 24,500 or is it 25,000, that is being charged to any new section that's developed. So that's ongoing. What we've got to do is get to this LTP and work out what our development contributions projects there are related to a new development contribution fee and work that out as part of the ongoing process. But we've got to get to determine what those projects will be.
And the projects will only be put in if you adopt them. So for this, just recently, we've had our GM of infrastructure present to you costs on the Mangawhai wastewater, of which you have only partially adopted those. So it'll only be the ones you partially adopted that go into the calculation. So if council doesn't adopt them, we won't put them into the calculation.
and another serious one is 2.8 roading revaluation. They made some comments on it. 6.11, we haven't done anything on
I
that.
just clarify before you go on to that one. I just think, the issue is that you have said that the Mangawhai wastewater is a serious issue.
Yeah.
Councillor Mike says, well, we're dealing with it through the LTP. I think when you actually read the commentary, they've got legal advice, which they're saying they're working through. An LTP amendment is not required, so therefore we dealt with through the LTP. The other issue is in here, they have only raised it because of the public interest and I would imagine providing it's dealt with through this LTP then be resolved, but it can't be resolved by Deloitte's until it is actually in the LTP, which is happening as we speak. So just clarifying that. Councillor Aaron, have you got a comment on this particular item?
I do, thank you. I had flagged this item myself, and so thanks, Councillor Nair, for raising it. But my concern is I would like next time this subject matter comes in front of elected members, I think it needs to be very clear to them that it is being raised by the auditors. I think it is time that we do need to get some traction on it, because as has been explained, we actually need to land on a final decision before those calculations can be done. And it has gone on for some time. So I think just the risk there should be communicated back to the whole of council, just so that they're aware that timeliness is important as well.
Thank you. Okay, all right, so everyone's comfortable with 2.2. Now your next question, Councillor Ash.
2.8 roading revaluation was the same issue. It's pending 6.11, it says. Maybe I should get the report. It's just a last night note, so it'd be wrong, just saying.
That's 2.8 on page 22.
2.8 is the item, 6.11 is the number. So these are the matters which are pending from last year, not
Okay.
points. So if you look at there's 1.11, they are the new items, which is the 8, and then 14 are old. So 2.11 is the 11th old item, which is not resolved.
Yeah, so through the chair, so what's happened there is our NTA, we work closely, the finance team work closely with NTA, but they've got to get their RAM system up to date. And my understanding is that it is being done at the moment. Like they've put a lot more effort into this year, and they recognise that in past years the RAM system hasn't been kept up to date, and then we can't get our financials agreed to that. So that was a problem in the first year. We have got much better with all our asset registers and trying to reconcile them.
Can we have a comment from the infrastructure manager? Anim, he's around or no?
No, not today. We've got Helen, she's representing him today.
Yeah.
So she can look up and see where they're actually at, but my understanding is there's an improvement, so perhaps I can get a comment from Helen and send it through to you.
Thank you.
Can I just make a comment? It's not uncommon for revaluation recommendations to span at least 3 years, because revaluations only occur every 3 years. Just for explain a little bit about my background. When I was at Western Bay, I actually helped develop the depreciation valuation guidelines, which are still being used. That's the standard that everyone else uses. Yep. And valuations are how would I describe it? They are a journey, not a necessary destination. So the valuer in any revaluation will be making recommendations, and it comes down to the council whether they think it's worthwhile, and particularly the ability and the quantum that is actually considered. Now, I've actually got a fundamental problem that the valuers are recommending that we start depreciating subbase. So for those of who are not at the voting, you've got your resale, which basically lasts, correct me if I'm wrong, anything from 9 to 15 years. And then you've got your base course. Now, some base course will actually last indefinitely, because when was the last time an urban cul-de-sac got actually rehabilitated? You might do some potholing or some patching, but you'd never actually replace that subbase. And then the next layer down is your base course, so subbase, which is the big heavy rock, which that is actually put in with when the foundations or the formation is done, and generally that's not replaced even on major roads. So I'm not sure who can explain why the valuers are saying we need to depreciate it. So I actually disagree with I'm not expecting the answer now. Jessie, you got a comment on that? You got your hand up?
Yeah, my assets accountant has commented for me on your question that you sent through. We do depreciate subbases, but over 100 years. So it's not a huge sum, but also we are waiting until that NTA and the other councils make a decision on what we're doing north and wide on this. So there's going to be some changes coming, I'd say.
Okay.
But what the audit chair is indicating is that he thinks we should be pushing back on that. And not that it makes any difference to our financial accounts, because of the fact that we don't rate for subbases for depreciation, but just the accounting methodology that we should be pushing back, that we actually never replace it. So that might be something to take on board.
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
I would say on the majority of the length of the road, there might be some roads, like some really poorly, like some arterials that are over swampy roads that you might need to do that. But generally, the principle is you don't replace your subbase. Now, I'm not an engineer, and I dare not speak for engineers, so I get into trouble. But I think I am yet to see in my 30 years of any road replacing the subbase. I have seen a number of roads when there's been no sub-base present. Basically, they've just put the road down and put a bit of base course in, and then the road is deteriorated, funnily enough, right? I can actually show you an arterial in Tauranga that has no sub-base.
Yeah,
Next,
Yep.
I'll carry through this. I think the report was crucial to me. There is 70%. We got $8 million. I think it's a reflection on us.
So which page?
Paying the Prime Minister for emergency works, when we got flooded in February, 70% of it has not been completed as of July. Yeah.
So
What
can I
page
ask
are you on?
page,
So it's,
what point is it?
the point is emergency works, unfinished business. So they asked for a full transactional list of emergency
Sorry?
works. What is done and what is not done?
Councillor, can I just clarify, what page are you on the agenda?
That's a good question. I have to open the report. These are the notes from last night. But I thought you will just come up with this part of the report on.
yeah, have a look. This is a document, what we're talking.
Okay.
You can go to the next one in the meantime.
But
Can we?
if I may, Mr. Chair, in the meantime, 1.8,
Page,
tree crops.
oh. Yep.
Now, I just seek clarification. Do we actually own any tree crops? I mean, this is on the argument, the debate is, you know, whether it's leased land and there is implications or implied lease, as I read it. Do we actually own any tree crops, say?
Yeah. Jesse's, I think, got a hand up.
Thank you,
Yes,
Jesse.
yes, we do. Our forestry asset value is around $900,000, and this particular part of the forest that's to do with the lease issue is very small compared to the main forests that we own.
Right, so can I just clarify what you're saying is the total value is 800,000, but the issue that is being raised on 1.8, page 18 is actually quite a small value.
That's right.
So therefore the decision is because it's, could I say immaterial? Would that be a fair comment?
I'd say that's a fair comment.
So now this is an issue, right? Councillor Ash, that the council, the auditors often raise these issues, but because we believe collectively, that's governors and management, that it's immaterial,
Yeah.
that we won't action it because we could spend, say, $50,000 trying to fix it and it's only worth $10,000.
Yeah.
Right?
In addition, we have tried. It's just very difficult to actually get the lease renewed because the owners of the land have changed so many years and they're not all in agreement. So it's just difficult to fix. It's something that might not ever get fixed.
So
we're not paying the lease anymore.
Okay, thank you.
we're not paying a lease. So therefore, I guess the risk factor is, should we take out the value of that forest? Because presumably, if there's difficulty getting a lease signed, there could well be difficulty in getting acknowledgement of ownership of the forest.
I think I'll leave that up to officers to consider and maybe bring back to us.
Okay.
Yeah, consider that.
Property
Yeah,
officer,
I think that's, yeah.
I'll leave my comment for the next
Thank you.
item.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. My only, if there are no other questions, I've got a couple of questions, just observations, right? And I think on page 20, they comment on that we haven't done a lot of work on our policies. Several policies are out of date. Like vehicle, I'm surprised they've raised vehicle policy and risk management policy because they're not really, I mean, it's good practice, right? It's not actually something I would actually be, as an auditor, should have actually been too concerned about and actually raised it as a management letter point. We've got it on our work program. Do you want to comment, Jessie?
Just that I agree with you, and that particularly the vehicle one was not even outside the review period. So, yeah, I'm not too concerned with that one either.
Yeah, all right. Cool. Right. Thank you. Are there any other comments? I mean, I know it's extensive, but I have seen worse. I've seen one that was literally this, when you printed it was this thick. I won't talk about that one. Okay. My last one is timely approvals for asset disposals. Generally, what assets are we really disposing of here? I mean, I know there will be a number of assets that we dispose of from an accounting perspective, because the road's been rehabilitated, therefore the actual physical asset's no longer there, or the pipe's been replaced. The question I have is, what's the materiality on this one? I don't quite understand the value judgment on this one. Have you got any ideas, Jess, Jessie, what they're talking about?
It's probably just been brought to their attention because we did have an undertaking in light of all the asset work that we're trying to be better at. We went through and did a bit of review and wrote off a lot of old assets that we didn't have anymore that should have been written off a little while ago. So that auditors would have seen that this year, but it was just part of our work to get things better. So I think that we definitely still could do it more than once a year though. And that's something we are going to be looking at.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. All right. Any further comments, questions? So we've got a recommendation that we note Deloitte's constructive report to management for the year ended 30th of June 23. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Mike, seconded Councillor Ash. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. It's carried. Next item, 3.3, our bylaws update. Sherry's online. Welcome, Sherry.
Kia ora, Marie. Good morning.
Take your report as read. Are there any key highlights, further information you want to bring to the committee's attention?
Thank you, Chair. So I would just add to the conversation in terms of the audit report. I worked extensively with Jessie on the questions from the auditor about the policies, and I would just say that I was also surprised to see the questioning of the policies that they did question. I provided Jessie with quite a lot of information that she's forwarded to the auditors, as far as I'm aware, about this regular reporting process that the Audit, Risk and Finance Committee has got oversight of all of the relevant policies. I agree also that it was surprising to see the level of operational policies that the auditors wanted to see and review. They asked for 25 of our policies, of which quite a few were purely operational staff-related policies. So hopefully they have now got an assurance through the Audit, Risk and Finance reporting process that the committee has got oversight of our policies in an appropriate manner. And it was disappointing to see that the auditor who was dealing with that query actually really misunderstood what a policy is in terms of the risk policy and how it relates to central government legislation. That was unfortunate to see that understanding, I guess I would say. In terms of the report, the feedback received at the last committee meeting was that the committee wanted to see some more detailed information about why the policies are deferred, if they are deferred or if they haven't been reviewed on time. So I've worked with all of the policy owners, so the report contains some detailed information regarding the deferral issues. So that has been provided in the report, and again, there are no risk issues to report on for this report.
Thank you very much.
Any questions?
I was probably the requester of that, but I think this is actually really good. And this, to me, should then satisfy our friendly auditors that we have actually got a process in place to monitor it, and therefore that management letter shouldn't have actually been raised. In fact, I'm tempted to email Bryce on this one because I think he's gone outside of his brief, which has probably cost council a little bit of money. I've got a nod from the Chief Executive. That's acceptable.
Brilliant, Mr. Chair, that'd be great.
Right. Thank you. Are there no questions? All right. I'm happy to,
Sorry, Mr. Chair, if I may, just one on page 34 of the document, application of sale proceeds to debt, non-statutory. Review date 28th of 3rd. Now, this is tied up with the Three Waters.
Yep.
So that's, I'm presuming that's exactly why it hasn't proceeded, but we've got everything ready to go. I'm imagining that what this is talking about is that if Three Waters does go ahead, there is effectively a sale, a transfer of our assets. Is that what?
No, so I think it was I think the policy's outdated and I think it's been replaced by the Treasury policy. So we need to look at that because
Okay,
I think, and that was updated by council about 3 months ago. So I actually think this is irrelevant. But
Okay.
what it was, the council put in a policy a few years ago that anything we sold, any properties, was basically the money went towards the general debt because of the Mangawhai wastewater. They wanted to try and reduce that. Now that's gone. And so now if there is any large sales, that's where, but they would still go against our general debt because we still have a lot of general debt. So like so that.
Okay, so that's a.
But it's in our Treasury policy. That's my understanding, but we'll check that and see if we actually need.
Thank you.
thank you. No, I'm actually very comfortable with this report. And look forward to a summary next time. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So I'm happy to move. Do I have a seconder? The recommendation? Councillor Ash, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
It's carried. Thank you very much. Next item is 3.4, our report on our emergency works. Thank you, Sue. And Dawn, I believe.
Dawn's online.
Dawn's online. Thank you, Dawn, for this report. Are there any key highlights or further information you want to bring to the committee's attention?
There's nothing extra, no.
Thank you.
I'll re-raise my questions I had before. And if you look at the report, then there's a typo actually in the summary portion.
Well, don't blame council in the summary of the report.
Yeah.
That's okay.
There is second para, the subsequent approval to extend the, so 70% of the emergency works, as I mentioned earlier on, were not completed till the end of June 2023, which is the financial year closing, which means 70% is unspent. The typo is they have now allowed it to carry forward into 2023, which should have been 23-24. I accept it because the question and from the finance angle, it takes a lot of effort to get these money approved through RTC, through us. And if this money remains unspent, you lose it. With the new government, they're looking for money everywhere. So if you haven't spent it, you lose it. So what effort we are doing, I think we should have to give a clear direction to the infrastructure to execute the emergency works fast before they look at LTP and mega projects. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I can. So yes, I agree. Emergency works is really important, and the team have prioritised the emergency works. This gets reported to you every month, as you know, Councillor. Yesterday's briefing had quite an in-depth report about the progress on the emergency works and where we're going in that space. So the council has been updated monthly on that work. I'm very comfortable with that work and how we're proceeding there. So as a matter of fact, and this report that's on the agenda, you can see proves that we do need to take our time to make sure we spend that money appropriately. We have to account for it. And that's effectively what this report says, that we have done the correct process.
Thank you.
Followed it.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. All I'm saying is you can keep patting on our back or your back. The issue I have, which I raised at many points and many levels, is that it should be itemized. There is a whole lot of reporting done. We did so many potholes, we did so much. We don't know what is emergency works. We don't know what is funded, what is non-funded. And the auditors pointed out that these emergency works should be itemized. We should exactly know where we are and what is left. And that kind of report we would like.
Through Mr Chair, if I could, so the briefing agenda yesterday has quite a lot of detail on it.
Yeah, but not itemized for emergency. So how much money left can you tell
There's
us?
quite a lot of detail on that briefing report.
Can you tell us how much is left?
Bear with me, Councillor Naya. Quite a lot of information on that briefing report. It tells exactly what works have been undergoing. I have confidence in the NTA and what they're delivering in that emergency workspace, and they're working really hard with the contractors to get that done, because that, as you know, has got a high level of funding that doesn't cost our ratepayers.
Well, I will like to record my dissatisfaction in the manner the report is presented, and we don't know where we are at. And if we lose this money, I will be very, very concerned.
Okay. Can I just clarify? I disagree with the comments, because the way I read this report indicates that council has, apart from a couple of minor accounting issues, done really well with actually how it has actually handled the emergency works. I understand your concern about losing the works, and I think everyone's concerned about that. But the chief executive has just explained that the council has received significant reporting on this. This is not for this committee. We are, right? To me, council has actually already received the report. Our job as a audit risk and finance report committee is to actually look at the reporting and saying, are we getting the right reports? Now, the chief, I haven't seen those reports. I would imagine that in the new calendar year, there will be a report coming. This is how much money we have been allocated for emergency council as of the 31st of December. This is what we have done. We have spent this. NZTA have approved it. And this, therefore, this is the remaining works to be done, which will be done by a certain date. That's what I would expect. So I can't, unfortunately, agree with your.
Well, that's all right. Could you please record my concern in the minutes? Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Council Peter, you got a comment?
Yes, thank you. Morning, everyone. My comment is just part 2, the procurement and asset management controls. I was just curious as to the sample size. Do we have a percentage? We're just underneath asset management controls, so we traced all payments, certificates to date from physical works, and selected a sample of dispatch items to review and verify. Do we have a percentage of what the sample size was? Thank you.
That's a different report.
Dawn may be able to help.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry. I apologise. I don't have the actual sample size or the percentage. It's what Waka Kotahi decides to do on the day.
Yes.
It's not us who gets to do the sample. It's the Waka Kotahi auditors who come in and do the samples.
Yeah, it would just give me a lot more assurance that the overall effective that's been applied to it, you know, really does demonstrate that there has been a good sample coverage completed. So on the day, if they're coming along doing 2 or 3, picking willy-nilly, then I'm not assured that that is effective. That's my comment. Thank you.
Okay. I've got a slightly different contrary view, right? These are qualified auditors undertaking their role, right? So it's an independent role, and knowing the process of these reports and the way it would have happened, I would have assumed, and you can rely on it, that if the auditor says we've taken a sample, that it would have been an adequate sample in terms of their standard. Councillor Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I acknowledge that. And I think that, I'd like to note that at the end of the day, KDC, the council, has been acknowledged as, on all of these measures, as having the highest level of compliance and delivery on all these aspects. So I think to be congratulated. And I think that the point really that's made relative to Councillor Naya is that Yes, everybody is well aware that we've got until the 30th of June 2024 to get all these emergency works for the 100% funding done. And I'm sure that we'll be well appraised of progress.
Yeah, and just to read, I would just on that, I would expect a heads up in March, right? Yep. That these are from a risk perspective, these are the projects and funding that is at risk that we may or may not complete. And we might actually have to go back to them, because when you're doing emergency works, you might run into unanticipated problems, and there will be leniency from the agency for doing this. I don't believe that the new government would be likely to try and withdraw this fund because it's already been committed. The other issue too is if you actually, the new government have promised they're going to work closer with the councils in the Hawke's Bay than currently. So I actually see that as it's a risk, but I see it's on the lower scale. Dawn, I see Dawn, you got your hand up. I just want to just reinforce the only issue that I had, right, and I'm not sure whether this is practical, on the whole report, is their recommendation is emergency works should actually have be separated in the general ledger, and whether that's actually possible at the time, I'm not sure. And it's not a major issue because they've given us the highest rating they can. Dawn, do you want to make any comments? You had your hand up.
Yeah, I believe the challenge with logging in the general ledger is because we have so many storm events and we had to differentiate between the storm events. So we had 10 different storm events over the last year, and they were looking at one particular one, which was the Gabriel storm event.
Thank you.
So just to comment on that, I think we are missing another point on this delays is we were presented yesterday, there is 42% escalation if you are delaying your projects. So these 7 million, whatever we have, if we are not executing, apart from losing and not losing, the cost of works will go higher. And that's sustainable.
That's right. And the rating team have taken that on board. They're trying to do as much as they can. So take on board the congratulations, Dawn. NTA's done a great job with the storm.
If I may, through the chair, from yesterday's report, the phase 2 delivery of emergency works is we've already spent 9.3 million of the 10.76 allocated.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dawn.
Thank you. Okay. So we've got a recommendation there that we're noting this report. Do I have a mover? Councillor Mike, seconded Mayor Craig. Any further discussion? All those in favour, please say aye. It's carried. Thank you very much. Our next item is our Treasury Management Report 3.5.
We've got Julia.
Julia online.
No, she's here.
She's here. Yep. I just wonder what happened to my page. Welcome, Julia.
Good morning. Kia ora.
Morning. Take your report as read. Are there any key highlights you want to bring to or further information to the committee?
There's nothing outstanding that needs to be reported. Everything's tracking along as expected. Perhaps the only comment which was made in the report is that we are working on implementing a working cash flow model. We've been in the lucky position for the last wee while of being very cash rich and not having to worry too much about cash flow. So we should have that up and running by the end of this calendar year and certainly in time for the next ARF committee meeting.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? I've got I like on page 49 of the agenda on the PwC little interest position graph.
Yes.
We've got, now correct me if I'm wrong, it's sort of amalgam of data there. In the beginning of the graph, we seem to have a pinkish histogram, right? which is actually, you got on your pointer there, yeah. Is that showing we're out of policy? We're slightly out of policy, is that what it's saying?
Where are you looking at?
Yes.
All right.
So that's the interest rate risk, but we
Yeah,
would have. reported,
interest
I
rate
think,
risk
of that.
portion, we have reported on it previously. We have, yep. So that's just confirming what we already know. We're out of sync,
Yes.
okay?
And much of that's because of the fact that we are still on the trajectory that Three Waters is going to take over our debt.
Yes, that's right, yes, I just want to absolutely clarify that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
We are out of sync. It's been reported that way, I think, for the last couple of.
Yeah, absolutely. I got no, this is not a criticism, but I think it's really important because you just heard our conversation about our good friends auditors, right? About their attention to policy. I would actually note the Treasury report and noting that we are still outside of policy because of the three water reforms to reduce our potential risk, because that's what we talked about previously. And I think it needs, sorry, Elaine, I should have actually written that out before, right? Just noting we're outside of policy, but we've got a very good reason for that. Yeah. And we will be in policy soon.
We do state that we are outside of policy.
Yeah, but I'm saying actually in the resolution,
Yes.
I think the resolution is, so we've actually formally noted we're outside of policy.
And I think we have previously also, again.
Yeah, I think it's just closing that loop.
Yes, for sure.
And this council also reported to the committee reported to council that it was out of policy.
That's right, yes, yeah, I'm just noting the management letter, just protecting council. Any other comments? No, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
I'm happy to move.
I'm happy to second that.
Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
It's carried. Our next report is 3.6, our quarterly financial report. Jessie, again.
Yes, just take the report as read if you have any questions.
I have a question.
Yeah, question, thank you.
My question is very basic and always related to the unfinished business. So that's the last comment. I think there is 69 millions of unfinished work. Where do I find it? You have the report with you?
Page 55.
Capital expenditure, page 5 on the report. So 69.8 million. Yeah, so I mean, we go to great extent in collecting the money for all these expenditure, capex. We go to LTP, we go to workup, wherever we wanna go. And then we don't deliver. That's my concern. Then the escalation comes in.
Yes.
And then we produce another LTP for next year while we are sitting on 70 million of approved expenditure undelivered.
So you're correct. And we raise it at the time of the carry forwards and also about the projects that we shouldn't be, we're a bit more ambitious, and sometimes it's better to have a lower level, and so you don't disappoint our ratepayers, and you're quite correct. And this LTP, I would hope that our council isn't too ambitious, and we're looking at that anyway with the issue of debt, so that we're trying to fix it this year with the roading. We can't carry over the roading. Basically, what we don't complete, NTA takes off the, NZTA takes the money away. For other projects, they'll be pushed out, but we're looking at what have we got in the first year of the LTP, and a lot of those projects might actually push out themselves as a result because of the carryovers. And we discussed that yesterday in the LTP briefing. So it is disappointing, I understand.
Well, it's very disappointing, and also, I mean, from a financial perspective, If I had a business, I will not do that. And because this 69 million is worth 50 million now because of escalation. So this people's money and we shouldn't be playing with it. So I take strong objection to these things, whereby we take ambitious projects, as you rightly said. Yeah.
Agreed,
Yep.
valid criticism.
Yep. Oh, is that councillor Jonathan? Deputy Mayor.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, we appreciate you can't put your hand up.
I've got quite a bad echo. I'm having a few connection difficulties, but I can hear you reasonably well at the moment.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Have you any comments to make, Deputy Mayor?
I haven't at the moment. No, sorry. I'll chip in if I do. So I'm having some connection difficulties, so I'm just sort of cutting in and out a little bit. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Just clarifying, I'd hate to cut people off.
Thank you.
All right. I think your concerns are absolutely noted and agreed, and I see this across the whole country. And I think this is the role of you as elected members, as part of this LTP, is to question the Chief Executive and say, Mr. Chief Executive, can we deliver what we're actually budgeting? And what techniques can you bring to us to actually ensure that we're actually budgeting correctly in the right years? Now, my view is that the community like to see in the LTP, we're doing a particular project and just say make it nice and easy. It's a $20 million project. And they like to see, and this is the problem we have with the LTP, they like to see it budgeted all in 1 year, but we know it's going to be spread over 2 years. And how do you actually then use your LTP to inform the budget spread? We're going to do this project over, it's a $20 million project, but we're going to spend it over 2 or 3 years. And how do you actually do that for all your projects? So I'll leave that challenge for the Chief Executive, right? And he can sleep on that over Christmas.
Thank you. We'll all have a good sleep in Christmas.
Yeah.
We'll forget about our worries.
But I see that to be, and the other issue too is that, yes, sometimes collectively we are over ambitious in terms of what we can achieve. Councillor Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I acknowledge your points there. I go to page 59 of the deck, which is page 55, a capital expenditure for the period ended. And it's interesting to note that, in fact, we get fixated on the roading aspect of this, but when you look at carryover budget, in fact, roading or transportation is less than 40% or 40% of the total. And there are a number of other elements there that are still in carryover, and I'm just highlighting that we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that there are a number of other elements that are contributing to the carryover budget that we've got to keep a good eye on also.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? I've got one. Just on page 53, where we're talking about the activity revenue. We're saying dog control is ahead of budget by 78,000. Is that because it's the timing? Because you've actually got all the dog fees in the first few months of the financial year? Is that the reason? Or is it a genuine ahead of budget?
It might be a bit of both, and I can't answer that one just
yeah, it's all right.
today. I'll come back to you on that
my
one.
apologies. I should have. Yeah. This is
Sorry.
Councillor with a hand up. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair, I had the same question. That kind of stuck out to me, especially with the escalation of dog issues that we're having. So I would really hope that it is the first scenario where we're getting the fees in early. And then the second thing was the same concerns around the toilet cleaning and the contracting underspend, because we've been going on and on about the services or lack thereof with our contractors. So if it's a case of we're not actually getting them on board to get the work done, then that's on us.
Any comments from Chief Executive on that one?
Good, Mr. Chair, get Helen, the infrastructure manager, to
In fact, CEO Maris and I were having a conversation about this morning. We have started having some discussions with our contractors for both the waters contract and the parks contract about the levels of service that we're seeing and the lack of quality that we are seeing in the work that is being done. So there's two parts. One is there's not enough work being done, and two, the quality of work that we're seeing being done is not to the level that we expect. There's lots of reasons and excuses for that, but we're at a point now where, you know, the weather is we haven't had a major weather event for a little while, so that excuse is wearing thin, and we are determined in the next 3 months to actually see that lift to that level that we expect. So it's a contract management piece, and we haven't been strong enough in the past, but we are increasing that now.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I know that. Okay. Right. Question?
I just had a comment on the 78,000 saving on dog control. We have got a couple of instances which has given us a lot of strife in terms of reputation. I think, I mean, this is not our area, but maybe this is not the saving we'd like to have. We would rather spend it on better management of dogs, you know, and reducing the registration fee. We don't want to make money out of dog control, and this is a service.
The Chief Executive, you want to comment?
This is.
Oh, right.
Sorry, can I just say, it's not a saving, it's an underspend. Good point. Second point is we're very aware of the need to look after dog control, and we're doing a lot of work in that space. You would recall the positive feedback we've got from TK recently around that, Councillor Nair. We do need to keep on to it because dogs are a problem, I agree. And the team are well aware of that and working hard to make sure that we do manage our problems in the district. Some of the things that have happened recently are outside of council's control, as you know. So we're very mindful of the need to keep on with our management in that space.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to clarify that it's the dog control revenue that is ahead of budget. So we've received more actual revenue than we'd budgeted for. And I'll clarify the reason.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. All right.
Can I just quickly comment on that? I know it's not relevant to this meeting, but if we're getting more revenue, then we need to be budgeting more to provide more services in that area. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see where it ends up at the end of the year.
So I think, so just to clarify, I think what's happened is in the past, we've had low dog fees, very low fees. And it was only last year we put them up to a reasonable amount that was basically on par with other councils. We've recently just looked at our revenue and financing policy, and we've actually said that we actually need to collect more money and that we're actually right in keeping the fees at the same level. So I don't think it's because we've got more dogs, but we'll check on that. I think it's because we've now changed our policy to meet, so that next year you'll find that the fees are in line with what we've budgeted and to recover the cost. Rather than the general, because what was happening in the past is the general ratepayer was paying a lot more of the dogs. So what we've done is increasing the fees and charges so that the people that own dogs actually pay, I think it's 80% of the costs, rather than before, the way that the previous council had, it was 50% of the dogs. And I explained it to you as we went through the revenue and financing policy. I think that's what the answer is, but we can have a check of that.
Okay, I think we'll come back probably in the new year and say, where are we with that? For clarification. Thank you. there anything else in the financial report? Okay. Do we have a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Ash, seconded. Mayor Craig. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. It's carried. Next item, 3.7, our quarterly debtors report. Thank you, team. Welcome. Take your report as read. Are there any key highlights?
I was just going to highlight that between the 31st of July and this report, we've seen a reduction in our rates debt of 900k. We're sitting in a slightly better place. Excellent. Slightly better place than we were this time last year. The debt split between rates and penalties, that graph shows you it's 1.7 related to rates and 3.2 in penalties. We're looking at changing that going forward with the rates resolution coming forward and a change in that. I've mentioned in there specifically whenua Māori. Since the last report, we've reduced the debt by 204k. 201 of that's been written off, whilst 2.7k is recovered with ongoing commitments to continue making payments. I also included in the report a new table and some narrative around current rate situation. And again, I think there was interest in splitting general land to Māori freehold land, which indicates that whilst not all Māori land that's rated as being paid, a fair percentage is, but you can see for yourself the difference there. And just overall, in water, we're seeing a downward trend in the debt. We're contacting ratepayers on a monthly basis and following up those with higher level debts. We've got some complex issues in there, but we're working as hard as we can to get that reduced as far as possible. I'm not sure if Lani had something to say about sundry debtors.
The sundry debt is always fluctuating. There's always different scenarios in there. There is a little bit of debt in there that basically on our report, it shows overdue when it's only just fallen overdue. And then other debt in there for development contributions, that is 60-day debt that it shows, sometimes can show overdue just because of the payment terms in it. So, but on a whole, with the sundry debtors and the debtors, there's nothing really in there that's too worrisome, and they're all being followed up quite quickly.
Thank you. Questions, Councillor Ash?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I have a question and also a query based on your knowledge. I think we're wasting our time with the Maori rates. We have so much machinery. The recovery is less than 1%, 200,000 written off, 2,000 recovered. We have Maori officers on salaries. Is it really worth it to chase the dream? And why not we just make let the Crown collect it?
Well, the Crown won't collect it, but you're asking me as chair, right?
Yeah.
The other issue too is, as noted in the report, right? While we have written off an amount, I think the positive comment made is ongoing commitments to continue ratepayers' payments going forward. And I think that's where the focus should be. It's not looking at the past, but saying, yes, look, there is some certain land that is unproductive, not occupied. Absolutely, we won't waste our time on it. I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong, that's your strategy. But where the land is being occupied or used, then the strategy is to work with the group of owners often to actually try and recover that, or not recover the previously arrears, but to work with them to ensure that future rates are going to be paid.
Is it the same story in other councils? That's what my query is, because you know a lot.
This is common across the whole country.
Okay.
And it does take a long time and relationships to actually build that relationship to come in with a mutual understanding.
Thank you.
Have you got any comments? Yep.
Sorry,
Sorry, agree. And then I've got Councillor. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair, I feel a little bit obligated to just make one comment. So Ash, if you could liken this to an investment, So yes, we are paying a salary to an employee, but there's work in there to try and get rates recovery into the future, because otherwise it's going to be continually written off year in, year out and underdeveloped. So there's a whole range of advantages to this.
Thank you.
So one of the things that
Yeah.
Can you hear now? Okay. Because we do want to get to the position where we're rating for the right amount, right? Because at the moment, what we're doing is setting our rates, and a lot of them we're not even going to be able to recover. So we'd like to be able to reduce it to the areas that we can rate, but we're working through that. It's going to take us probably till another 6 months, I'd say. Would that be 6 to 12 months until we're sort of through this process?
I don't think you can put a time on that. That's quite short. I don't think you can say that, because there's people we're constantly trying to find. I think it's unrealistic expectations if you put a short 6 months to a year time frame on it. It's a continuous process and it's going to take a long time. Sorry, Sue.
I was just looking at how many of the percentage you've actually, like there's only 100 and something and properties, and I know, and you've done 18 to date, so I'm thinking, okay, there's a process, and I know that one of the ones that you resolved, you've probably got another 20 you're in contact with at the moment, but it's difficult to pursue, and get an outcome of those.
Yep.
Councillor Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a point of clarification, page 66, the table arrears debt. It's very, very positive to see so much progress that's been made, even as has been acknowledged already since July. The bottom line, other, we're down to 138 instances, 500,000 outstanding. What makes up other?
So there's lots of different situations in there. There might be people that they're deceased and they're complex. Allodial people, they're refusing to pay their rates because of allodial claims. We've got some postponements in there, so we postpone.
Okay,
so
it's basically anyone who doesn't fall into the categories.
Okay, thank you.
And it moves.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any other further questions? Sorry, Christine, I'm going to drop you in on this one. All right. I should have emailed you last night, but on page, good report, really happy with all the information. Page 62, you got payment arrangements. You might want to just check this and come back to us. Currently, in July, you had 19 with 58,000. Now you've got 13 with 99,000. That seems the numbers just seem a little bit out of kilter.
So what happens at that time of the year is that people start finishing up their arrears payment, particularly if they've had a payment arrangement for 2 years, then that won't show on that, because this is only arrears debt, it's not current debt. And then because we're contacting more people in that arrears space that don't have mortgages, then people are starting to come onto payment arrangements to try and clear that. Some of them will have a lot of money owing, so they come on board. So it does fluctuate in the value. And does that make sense?
So what Lani's saying is they're not the same properties.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah. Just from my simple brain, I've got a simple brain. The average in July was 3,000 per property. The average in October is 7,500 per property, or 7,600. So it seems just a little bit out of.
Could be that we've collected somebody out of the other category and that now they've got payment.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Welcome.
If they stop paying, they'll then fall back into the other category, or they might go to legal.
Okay. All right. Complicated. Thank you. Yeah. Right. But just proves I value your data. Yeah. Right. No, good report. Thank you. Excellent. All right. So Mayor Mike. Something. Council, promotion. I've got it, Mike. Sorry.
Dear.
Oh dear. Councillor Mike, would you like to move then the recommendation?
Yes, I'd like to move.
Do I have a seconder?
Yeah.
Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
It gets carried. Thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you.
3.8, health and safety. Perfect timing, Glenys.
It was a bit of a slow run and there's a lot of roadworks on the Mangawhai Kaiwaka Road, so. Phew.
Oh, there's roadworks all over the place.
Well, tell me about it, but they're all being done very safely, so it's good to see.
Oh, no, no, there were a few.
On our.
No, I can share with
The median.
go there. Okay.
There's a lot of cones out.
That's right, somebody is.
In barriers too, man. In barriers.
Right, your report. Thank you. We'll take it as read.
Fantastic,
I'm going to say really good report.
thank you.
I got all the information I needed. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Right.
Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
No questions, councillor Ash?
Oh, thank you.
No. No, I think I'm actually, the bit I really liked was the fact, this is the bit that I've been banging my head against the brick wall for some councils about as a PCB, you're checking up on our contractors. You've provided really good information. One, that it's happening. Two, that we've actually got some really good compliance, so therefore we're keeping our people safe. But you're giving us, right, assurance that we're keeping the chief executive safe from going to jail. Sorry?
I want to go to jail.
No, we don't want you to go to jail. That would be a disaster.
Fantastic. Well, I'm very pleased. I think the two things that you should note in there that we did have 2 notifiables with our contractors. Of course, all the work that we do, there's always an inherent risk. You cannot eliminate all risk. But what was very pleasing to see with both those contractors is that they followed their own internal processes and then they followed our internal processes, and we used both of those events as learning opportunities for our own teams around how do we make sure that we do keep a tight rein in terms of work that's being done, and we understand what is appropriate work, and when work becomes too risky, what do we need to do about it? So that was really the only comments that I would make.
Well, before you just, because there's been no other comments, right? I did like, I've actually got 3 green ticks here, which means really well done, right? Don't do that often in a green pen, auditor. Just noting, there was no dangerous on page, I don't know, your report, page 6 of your report, page 76. You've got, I like your categories there, high standards, acceptable, needs improvement. Just what's your process for those who need improvement?
Yes.
Will you be looking at them?
Yes.
Again?
We do, absolutely. So this is where our project managers really come to the fore. So when they do an audit and they identify that there's areas that need improvement, they have conversations with those contractors about what that improvement looks like. And then they follow that up to make sure that those improvements are in fact embedded into practice. So we do try and look at it from 2 different angles.
No, thank you. That's the answer I was looking for. Thank you. All right, no further questions. I'm happy to move the recommendation. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, one of the things that's been concerning me is that this is covering community groups.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So, for example, I had a phone call from a member of the community this morning who's had 8 years gardening experience and wants to form a group to work within some of our areas of control. And we've had issues in the last 6 months where the trackies who've been operating for a long, long time in our district have been frustrated by the fact that they haven't, I think they've been caught up in this very issue of health and safety. So to me, that's a major risk. It's also a major responsibility that we enable these voluntary groups to be able to work at what they want to do. That saves us a lot of money. It keeps localism going. It keeps people active in our community. I'm just wondering whether there's some work to do there.
So you'll see in my report, we're doing quite a bit of work in that space. If I take the Mangawhai trackies, for instance,
one of the things that we've done there is do a pre-qualification. So we've looked at their systems to make sure that they are in line with the type of work that they're doing. I've been out on site with them. We've provided them with a lot of really easy to use ways of dialogue, open with health and safety and with the parks team. So worked really closely with our parks team to make sure that the work that they're doing does actually kind of fit in that grander scheme, but more importantly, that they've got the health and safety resources and the skills and competencies to do the tasks that they are wanting to do. And so what we've done is we've created all sorts of things from reporting tools. I'm in the process at the moment of putting together some information just about sort of general weeding and the use of things like insecticide and herbicides, so that people know how to use those really safely. So we're working really closely with a lot of those community groups, and I do that through our parks team.
Right. I just see it's a really important thing, and it's a big risk, I think. I'm not talking about safety risk, it's a community risk that we have groups that want to work within their community to do things that the council at this point in time can't afford to do themselves. They wanted to step up and do that work. We need a really enabling, simple template for them to get in and do that.
So the feedback that I've had from people who are using the materials that we're creating for them are that they're really easy to use. I think that there is always a little bit of a shock. So one of the things that I've really tried to do since coming into this role is really change the culture. So to turn health and safety from something that feels like it's really compliance driven to something that has an element of compliance, I can't get past that, but really is about empowering good practice. And so again, I think everyone has a little bit of a, oh, you know, health and safety always feels like it's heavy. I've had that internally. I've had that with some of our contractors, and I think now I've started to hear that a little bit with some of our community partners, the community groups. I think it is just one of those kind of learning things. And again, my approach is to do this really openly, to talk about what is good practice, to try and put some systems in place that support good practice, but don't stifle that practice. I know that there's been a little bit of chatter in Facebook around that, you know, KDC seems like it's heavy-handed. Actually, we're not. We're not doing anything that a good, prudent council should be doing in this space. And the community groups that I've spoken to have also said that they're getting the same sort of pushback from the likes of DOC. We're trying to do it in a really open, based on mutual respect, but giving them the systems that will really support their practice.
I mean, for example, we've got a retired farmer that's used a chainsaw all his life. It's important that when he does community work, he realises he can't do what he did on the farm, which was wear no earmuffs, wear no helmet, protective. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he shouldn't be rocking up in his jandals.
So to cover the council, there needs to be rules about what he needs to do, but you don't want to take that a step further and then say, oh, yes, come better course where he can use the chainsaw, you know what I mean?
But we're not asking that.
That's good.
No, what we are asking though, is for those community groups to provide some type of rationale as to why that person is competent. So I could say that I'm competent in using a chainsaw. Actually, I've never used one before, but I do know how to take it out of its wrapping. What I'm asking of those community groups is to have a conversation with me, so that actually I walk away from that thinking, yeah, this person does have some skill set in using whatever equipment that they are. And if we take it one step further where they're building something that will have a legacy, we just need to make sure that whatever is being built, whether it be a boardwalk or whether it be a swing bridge or some steps, actually that's built to a code, and that it's going to withstand the weathers of time and isn't going to hurt someone later on. So that's all we're trying to do.
Councillor Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just on that, and I think that using the trackies as an example is ultimately, as far as I'm aware, has now been a fantastic outcome. The issue was, in part, the trackies didn't have health and safety processes sufficiently robust for themselves. So, I mean, there was a time factor, that was a frustration. And then to the Mayor's point, we got close to losing, the council got close to losing the services of the trackies infinitum, which, you know, again, would have been an unintended and undesirable consequence had that happened. So there was a risk factor
Most definitely.
that we had. So, but I understand that Tracky's acknowledged that, you know, their systems weren't up to speed, so it hasn't been a mutually beneficial one. It is just probably a pity that it took the 3 months, but, you know, you got there.
And again, look, you know, I can't comment on that in part. I work really closely with the parks team, but obviously we do need to make sure that particularly structures that get put in place, you know, are built to a standard and that they're going to weather the test of time.
Exactly.
You know, and so again, to do that, we do need to make sure that they've got practices in place that are going to be able to fulfil those requirements.
Councillor.
I also just have one comment, and you did mention that you're already working on it, making templates which are very easy to fill in. So if a person with a community group writes there that he's 25 year, as Mayor pointed out, experience on the farm, will be acceptable. You don't have to actually go and verify it because they're giving you a statement. And you have to trust that piece of paper which they have signed. As long as you do that, I think what people expect is things to happen overnight. Because you are a victim of processes, you can probably make it in days or week, not months. I think that is frustration when it goes to 3 months, isn't it?
Absolutely. And again, from a health and safety point of view, I just want to put it into context. You know, I do work with our parks team. I work, you know, with internal teams, and often they are in the driving seat in this. And I provide some of the structures that sit around so that we can make sure that the information that we glean from our community partners is up to date, you know, and it's valid and it's reflective of what people are actually doing. So for me, it's about understanding the context, and then it's about supporting both my internal stakeholders and external stakeholders.
Good job. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you. Right. Do I have a mover for the recommendation?
I second.
Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Next item, Sue.
Regulatory compliance.
Yep, 3.9.
Okay, so through the chair. So the only thing really that's out of step with legislation is compliance for the building consents and which is only at 98. I think 90 only at, which is 98%, 0.2%, which is pretty good, which means one probably slipped through. And so that's a good total. You can see from the information that building consents are well down. We have still got a lot of, and we've got staff that do both inspecting and processing, so they can switch between. But so we put a lot of, and the inspections are still quite high. And so we've been able to reduce our use of contractors, and some of our building staff are working on compliance stuff like swimming pools and other code of compliance things we have to do. The other one, resource consents is down, but not as much. There's still, and there are much more complex resource consents coming in, which we report through to council each month.
Any questions? All right.
Just one on Paparoa wastewater, I think is part of this report, unless I have jumped guns. This is on infrastructure, page
84.
Yes.
Yeah. So how far, just considering what's going on in the recent time, have you received any positive reply from Mana Whenua on the discharging field?
So I'll hand over to Helen to comment on the infrastructure.
There's ongoing work in this space to work out what the best solution is for this. There are a couple of options that are still being explored, and we're working with Mana Whenua as we explore those options. So they're working alongside us as we come up with the solution for that. There is funding in this year to come up with a proposed solution. And yeah, so we're just working through them, and they're working with us through that. There's a couple of different options. We're not looking at a full public scheme in that area, so we are looking at what our options are to deal with those 20 properties that do have abatement issues.
Thank you.
Any further questions? All right. I'm happy to move the recommendation. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried. Next item, 3.10, our past audit recommendations.
So this is me again, just all we're doing here is as we get audit, we have audits like today we've had Deloitte and we've had NZTA. We put the audit recommendations on this list and then this committee monitors to see that they are completed. And we take them off. So there's a number that have been completed.
So just clarification, right, so we won't see again the ones that have been completed.
That's right, they'll be taken off after this meeting.
Also, the question I then have, which I think is how many of the Deloitte's recommendations should actually come onto here? Because there could actually be multitude that we actually are not going to progress. Just to think about that one, Sue.
I think they'd all come on and we'd comment on that.
Okay,
So I
then
think-
we'd actually, so then next meeting, we would actually say, we don't believe it's appropriate for you to take that any further and take it off.
That's right.
Okay, cool. Councillor Ash.
Just, I mean, it's good to see that they are in progress, but estimated time of completion is June 2023. It should be changed to 24 if you can't do it. That's the Deloitte constructive report, eroding the valuation, which I was referring earlier on.
Right, so it says June 2023 because that's when we got the report.
No, that says estimated time of completion.
Okay, well, it would be June 2024 because it'll be the next time we produce an annual report.
So it is due from September 2021, which I talked about.
Page?
It is page 89.
89.
89 or 88, whatever, yeah.
Progress, that one. It says June 23.
Oh, okay.
Fair cop.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a couple there. There's one up above there under technology too.
Same thing,
23.
December 22.
Thank you. We'll get, the finance and risk manager can have a look at that and adjust the timetables.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, I just note, no, that's all. So you're happy to move? Yep. Councillor Mike? All right. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Aaron, would you like to second? Oh, sorry, Ron. Councillor Aaron. I could see she was champing at the bit in a couple of previous ones and she just missed the line. Any further discussion? All those in favour, please say aye. Against carried. Right, can I have a mover that we move into public excluded?
I will.
Yeah, okay, you'll move?
Yeah.
Thank you. Seconded, councillor Ron?
Yeah.
Right. All those in favour, please say aye and we'll adjourn for 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.